does $5 change the conversation? I mean, they're going to say, oh, but you've got to put it together with the other one. Well, if that's the case, remember when they took $1,500 off 10 million workers, all right? Because we can subtract 50 from 1,500 if we're going to play that game, but obviously, it's a sort of lone voice in the wilderness that's been talking about that one for the past 3 years. Hollie, thoughts on the budget?
That you've been.
Well, and honestly, I think it should be one of the things they announce on Thursday, that you're bringing it back.
Absolutely.
Yeah, anyway,
Look,
sorry, go.
I will be with you on Thursday learning what's there. So I think this is an incredibly disappointing budget. This is a budget for an election. This isn't a budget for Australia's future. I think Joe's drinking the Kool-Aid just a little bit too much tonight. But, what you won't hear a lot about, and I hope there are some journos that have the intellectual fortitude to look a little bit deeper than these headlines that you're going to see from Chalmers and the Spin team. But we've been having a quick look through budget paper number 2, which is probably the thinnest budget paper 2 I've ever seen. And it's when you start looking at other things that are going to impact people's lives. We've seen correspondence tonight from Suicide Prevention Australia. There is zero money in this budget for suicide prevention. They have completely vacated the field, even though after moving it into the health department said that they would properly fund it. So there's one organisation and one sector of our economy who's been completely ignored at a time when mental health and these sorts of pressures are rising. The NDIS, what they've put more money in for, and I noticed Chris Kenny made some comments earlier tonight, and I've got to tell you, he's spot on, and at some point I'd love to have a longer conversation with you about it and its sustainability. But the only money they've put in tonight is for more lawyers, for more legal fees. Yeah. And what that tells me is they're not going to do anything about the sustainability of it. They're not going to do anything about tidying up the scheme and making it fit for purpose for people they need. They are just going to make it more difficult for participants and their families who genuinely need the support by hiring top-tier law firms to fight them every way to the tribunal until they just give them what they wanted in the first place on the steps, which is exactly what's happening now. So we need to look a lot deeper. Unfortunately, I don't think many in the press gallery are probably going to have the capability of doing so. And if you listen to Joe and certainly a lot of his colleagues, it's a cheer squad that this is an election-winning budget, and I just think it's pathetic.
Yeah, well, again, I just think the $5 goes away in vapours. I think that's where many of the front pages are going to be. And then, of course, it's about Dutton on Thursday. And Philip Curry's writing in the Australian Financial Review tonight that election could be called as early as Friday, meaning that whatever the noise of the budget, it melts away pretty quickly. Now, I know you're not the government, right? Yeah. I remember this feeling when it was me sort of trying to benefit the doubt, Morris and all the rest of it, right? So if
I was the government, everything would be fine.
Yeah, I know.
Everyone would be happy.
Me too. All right, so how do we morally as a country justify that payments for Commonwealth debt management next year, sorry to do the glasses thing, but I'm terrible, $28.4 billion. However, support for families is just $17 billion. Job seekers, just $16 billion. Childcare subsidy, just $16 billion. Financial support for carers, just $12 billion. That's a screwed up budget when you are spending multiples of the money you spend on a carer, on family support, on job seeker to pay off debt.
Yeah, well, obviously...
That's terrible.
As you know, it is more complicated than that. They have saved about $60 billion in the amount of interest they're paying on debt. And again, one of the reasons...
that number up, that's their number.
One of the reasons you end up running higher debts and not getting back to surplus as much as everyone would like to is because you are recognising that you have to pay for those other things. So that is why the debt exists. So... it's not comparing apples with apples, quite frankly. That is an amount of money you pay, not at the expense of those other things, but so that you can pay for those other things.
But if I wasn't paying a debt off, I could double the dole. I could double carers' pensions.
Yes, but that meant that everyone on carers' pensions, everyone on the dole, would have nothing until you got back into surplus. And most people who are, as you say, living a hand-to-mouth existence, even people with families with 2 jobs are struggling to put food on the table. You can't just say, just wait a decade. We're not going to give you anything.
No.
We're not going to give you anything.
In my world, you get the low to middle income tax offset, which is an extra $1,500. But anyway,
which is half of what people will be getting in tax cuts in a couple of years' time.
But again, you're talking about a couple of years' time. July 1.
You're talking about 10 years.
Like July 1.
No,
but okay.
It's $5 on July 1 next year.
Yeah. All right.
$5 on July 1 next year. I mean, come on, in fairy floss and unicorns land.
There's already been $40 on July 1.
Yeah, but hang on. But again, we can't be sliding this up and sliding this down, all right? Like, you know, the far right-wing think tank H&R Block, all right? I went and double-checked them before about what the breakdown was of the rejigged stage 3. $40,000 is $12 a week, all right? So now it's 17, not 50, 17. So this I think is part of the danger that for want of a better term, low information, i.e. busy people, they're just going to hear the 5 and the 10 and the 50, like all of that, right? But the actual number...
For someone on $40,000 a week, yes, because they don't pay any tax for the first $18,000 that they earn.
But guess who needs the money to pay off everything that's more expensive?
And they are the ones, that is where the tax cuts have been targeting. It is in that 18 to 45,000.
$17.
Because they put it at the lowest tax rate.
That's right,
so
the
everyone
lowest
gets
tax
it,
rate.
even if
That's
you're on
right.
the highest. But even if you're the highest tax break, you still get it.
But that's
The
how our
average
tax
family
system
has had
works,
to
Holly.
find 50,000. Yes, I am very well aware.
So how would you have them frame it?
Joe,
How would you have them frame it?
If you could let me get a word in,
okay.
Joe. $50,000 is what the average Australian has had to find since this government has come into power, be it extra mortgage bills, cost of electricity, cost of groceries. $5 a week from the 1st of July next year is not going to touch the sides. It is an insult. It is an insult to the intelligence of every Australian if we think that they are going to be somehow conned, that a $5 tax break in 14, 15 months' time is somehow going to improve their standard of living that has fallen faster and further than at any other time in history since Albanese's been elected. You guys are kidding yourself. Put the Kool-Aid down and start to talk to real people.